You don't know if she's been murdered or not yet. She may be alive and well.
Okay.
But she might also be dead. Okay? And it could be that you've done it.
Hey, I just want to ask a question. Am I being arrested for something I didn't do?
You haven't been arrested, mate.
Oh, sorry. Holy shit.
When hearing about dating apps these days, you hear about weird messages, unsuccessful dates, or even on the off chance, people getting married. However, we would rarely think the extreme worst possible scenario. This sad story will have you double thinking your next first date. Grace Emmy Rose Millane was born on 2nd December 1996 in Wickford, Essex, to her parents, David and Gillian. She had two siblings called Declan and Michael. Grace was an intelligent, sweet young woman. She graduated from Lincoln University with a bachelor's degree in advertising and marketing. Like many other graduates, Grace decided to take a gap year to travel before finding a job. She was excited to visit new countries, meet new people, and make the most out of the experience. She began her journey across the globe and eventually landed in New Zealand, where she planned to stay for 2 weeks. 30th November 2018. She arrived in Auckland, New Zealand. Because she didn't know anyone, she decided to download Tinder and find someone to go for a drink with. 1st December 2018. Shortly before 6 p.m., Grace met up with Jesse Kempson, an Australian man who was visiting Auckland at the time. Before she met up with him, she snapped a picture of the Sky City Christmas tree and sent it to her family. Sadly, this was the last message they received from Grace. There was a huge amount of CCTV which allowed investigators to follow the date through to the tragedy. After an awkward hug, the pair headed to a burger bar for some dinner. They seemed to be getting along well and decided to get some drinks at a Mexican bar shortly after 7 p.m. Around 8:30 p.m., Jesse paid the bill at the bar whilst talking to the bartender, and the two then headed towards the next venue, a bar located a few minutes from his apartment. By this time, the pair were more comfortable with one another, and shortly before 9 p.m. they were seen kissing and flirting. And for the next hour, the pair continued their date. For a short few moments, Jesse left the table, and Grace used these few minutes alone to message her friend back. She also mentioned the date she was on, and said, "I'm on a date with a guy who's a manager for an oil company." She told her it was cocktails all around, and he was like, "It's your birthday tomorrow, we're getting smashed. He lives in a hotel. I click with him so well, I will let you know what happens tomorrow." Jesse returned to the table and the two continued to kiss, flirt, and share drinks together. 9:40 p.m. they are seen leaving the bar and heading into the City Life Hotel where Jesse was staying during his visit. They both looked happy and relaxed, and shortly before 10 p.m., they are seen leaving the elevator on the 3rd floor, which was Grace's last moments alive. 2nd December 2018. Her friend didn't receive an update on how the date went. Grace's family and friends began messaging her and trying to call her to wish her happy birthday. However, as time went on, the silence from Grace became worrying. Since she started her travels, she would always keep in contact through texts and social media. At first, her family just thought she may have traveled to an area with poor signal. Then 2 days passed. She was reported missing. Police quickly started investigating Grace's disappearance, checking CCTV footage and looking through who she was last in contact with. It wasn't long until they discovered her last movements were arriving at her date's apartment. They checked the footage from all possible exits. Grace had never left the building. However, Jesse did on multiple occasions. Police decided to focus on Jesse's movements after Grace's trail leaving the elevator went cold. On the morning of Grace's birthday, Jesse was seen heading to the mall looking for something, a large suitcase. He purchased one and took it back to his apartment. Once again, he is seen leaving again, heading to a different shop for cleaning products. On top of this, he hired a professional carpet cleaner while stood casually next to another guest. Not long after, he was seen exiting and heading into a taxi where he was dropped off at a car rental garage. He collected keys to a red Corolla and headed back to City Life Apartments. Shockingly, he then went on another Tinder date. But this didn't go as well as the one with Grace did. He seemed nervous and gave out confusing details about himself. At one point, talking about how police were searching for a body in the Waitakere area, and went on to tell his date he knew someone who accidentally killed someone during rough sex. After a very awkward date, Jesse invited the woman to go to another spot, but she declined, as her instinct was telling to remove herself from the situation. Later, Jesse is seen bringing large suitcase down in the elevator using a cart to maneuver to the car park. He then loaded them into the boot of his rented car. He returned back to his apartment and went to sleep before returning back the next morning. On the drive, he stopped at a shop to buy a shovel. A few hours later, he is seen at a car wash, cleaning the rent Corolla. CCTV had also captured him throwing items away in public bins before continuing on with his day. December 5th, 2018. This was the first day Grace was reported missing. Her father flew to Auckland. Initially, the case was assumed to be a missing persons case with no foul play. However, with the amount of CCTV, things changed quickly and Jesse became prime suspect. From the CCTV of Jesse pushing the suitcase on the cart, made police think the worst had happened to Grace. Initially, Jesse told police he knew nothing about where Grace went after their date and lied several times about where he went after the date. Police were already suspicious, and the CCTV was showing a different story to his movements, he claimed. The police brought him in for questioning again. This time he was backed against the wall, and he knew he wasn't able to avoid the truth. He admitted to killing Grace Millane. Like most cases, it wasn't long before he acted as the victim. He said it wasn't his intention to kill her and shed tears. He said it was an accident during a sexual encounter which got out of hand. He said Grace said to choke her, but it went terribly wrong.
She started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey. We started having sex. At first it was just normal. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage, having, I guess, more violent sex. We ended up on the floor, and then she told me to hold her throat. So I went into the shower, and then all I remember is falling asleep in the shower.
He went on to say how he disposed of the body, cleaned the room, and got rid of evidence. With these details, police were able to locate the body.
Left.
We're going to head out of here very, very soon, and you're going to take us to where you've buried him.
Yeah.
She will likely be exhumed tomorrow.
Okay.
At some point, and after that, a pathologist, a specialist doctor, will perform a post-mortem.
Yeah.
They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death.
Everything pointed to the mountain ranges located in the Waitakere area in West Auckland. Just there, the body of the 22-year-old Grace was found in a suitcase buried in the ground. The first 2 years of the case, Jesse Kempson's name wasn't shared in the New Zealand media, as name suppression was legal in this country. However, it wasn't long before other countries released the name. Soon after, he was the confirmed killer. November 2019. The trial began. He insisted it was all an accident and pled not guilty. The CCTV, however, didn't portray a man who was scared by the horrific accident, and the jury just saw a man disposing of a body to cover his tracks. CCTV wasn't the only evidence which came to light. Internet search history also played a huge part to prove it wasn't an accident. Early hours of Sunday, when Grace was presumed to have already been killed, his phone history showed searches for hottest fire and white cure ranges where her body was found. After this, He searched for porn videos and local car rental companies. Disturbingly, 7 photos of Grace's body in intimate positions were found. And he even went on another date when Grace's body lay in apartment 308. The room was deeply analyzed, and investigators found huge blood-stained areas and footprints on the apartment floor next to the bed. Grace's autopsy revealed she had bruises to her arms, neck, and torso, suggesting she had been pinned down and strangled. Previous individuals who had dated Jesse mentioned he was into bondage and rough intimacy. During background checks, it had been found he had other charges of rape, sexual threats, and other violent acts. The defense team stuck to their story. After a 3-week trial and 5 hours of deliberation, the jury found Jesse Kempson guilty of the murder. He was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 17 years. He has tried to appeal his sentence twice, but both times it was dismissed.